Hey up, hope you're well. Thought about time I put a video out, and I am making some pretty big changes, so I thought what better time to start filming again. And we're just going to film, or I'm going to film segments about what I'm going to be doing with these sales tanks. So basically, without boring anybody too much, I'm not happy with the way they're running. I never have been 100%. They've been doing a job, but they're not as I intended. And the reason for that is I'm not pulling enough through the bottom drains. I'm not circulating enough water. Trying to do all 5 tanks. These two over here as well. Trying to do all 5 tanks. Yeah, basically hasn't worked the way I intended it. There's no other way to put it really. It's been a bit of a balancing act trying to balance the flow. I added a bead, which obviously didn't help that, but I was aware I was only running the pump at about 70% then, so I added the bead and now I'm running the pump at 100%. But I mean, it's just not an efficient way of doing things, and it's not working to my satisfaction. So yeah, basically, you might be able to see down in the bottom corners I get lots of waste in the water. They're always kicking it up. So if there's waste here at this level, there's waste everywhere in the system, and that's not what you want. It's certainly not what I want. So what we're going to do is this 3-bay system here is going to be separate to this 2-bay system. The shower's going to stay there. So basically we're going to run 2 separate systems with 2 separate filters. I'm not getting another air source heat pump, so I'm only going to heat one of them. I've made the decision to heat these 3. They're less efficient to heat out of the 2 sets of tanks. However, this carries the larger stock and the more stock, so that's the reason for that. So what we're going to change it to, so we've got one of these fellas. So that's the Premium Compact L. I know a few of the guys, the pond channels, Phil Telford Koi Pond, I know he's got one of these. I've seen quite a few, and you know, it is nothing but good things. So I ummed and ahed about, it was definitely going to be a drum, but it was which drum. And this one won out. Sort of price point, well, a drum's a drum, so price point obviously has to come into it, but it's compact enough so I can add it behind. It's going to go, I will take you around, but you can't see a lot at the minute. It's going around there. Back of this is the plant tank. I don't know if I've even shown you this. Basically this is just circulating itself with a small pump in the middle tank. That's going to remain the same. Drum's going to sit behind there. This seemed perfect because we've got 3 110 bottom drains, and I've got 3 bottom drains there with the 3 tanks, so that's what I'm going to do. So use all 3 bottom drain lines and then the waste. 2 returns, handy 6-inch returns. I'm going to reduce them down to 2-inch. I am going to run 2 pumps, 2 Evolution Aqua 20,000s. So I went massively. We're going to have about 7,000 litres in here. Maybe a tiny bit more. I intend running both 20,000 pumps at about 50%. I've got midway returns on these tanks, so they're going to be fed by one of the pumps, and then similar to the flow return I've got there from this plant tank, I'm just going to have a bar across, a pipe run across the top rail there with individual returns into each with the other pump. One pump's going to have the air source heat pump in line, and the other pump is going to have the UV in line. so I'm not restricting one line massively either way, just splitting the load up. So running them at about 50% a piece. Should be able to turn these tanks over once every 25 minutes or thereabouts, so twice an hour at least. It means I'm going to be able to stock more and keep the water spot on with the drum. That's the idea. So yeah, I appreciate I'm waffling a bit. It's all still planning. I've just ordered everything to do it, so we're still in planning phase. These two tanks, unfortunately, the returns are on this side, which was, it's one of those, or if anybody knows a lot of the videos when I first installed these tanks arrived and I didn't want midway returns, but they'd put them in, so I wasn't going to refuse them, so I just blanked them off. However, I am now going to use them. It does mean I'm going to have a couple of pipes running down here. There's not a lot I can do about that because it's how I want to run the system. So I'm going to have the two returns on this and the shower, and those two small tanks are going to be run by this one. So this one's the medium, sorry, not the midi, the medium. Obviously a lot smaller bio chamber, but I'm going to have the shower to help with that. Smaller screen again, but it should handle what's going to be 1,000 gallons at the most. It should handle that absolutely fine. So that's what we're going to do. Appreciate that's an awful lot of waffle. Hopefully I'll just make this into one video. So once I start disconnecting all this system and doing, I will film as I go along. What I am going to do, I'm going to take all the stock out of these tanks, and it's all going into those two for hopefully only a week max, because there's quite a few fish, so it's going to be massively overstocked. But I've got the heater on there. I'll put the heater up a little bit, make sure they're comfortable, feed them plenty, and hope, fingers crossed, it's going to be alright. So because I can isolate all these, so these are going to be fully isolated, empty down tonight as it goes. I'm draining this lot down, jet wash them out while I've got them empty, and start digging up all the underground pipe work, ready for all the new stuff. Let's have a quick wander down to the pond, the poor neglected pond. I say neglected, it's just, it does run itself, but I haven't been able to cut a lot of this back just yet. Still a little bit early, so I'm going to leave it for now. Yeah, let's get them some food because we haven't been fed yet this morning. It's the first time I've been down. Here they come, ready. Yeah, everyone's down here fighting fit, fully healthy. They've had a good year down here, really. Very little in the way of maintenance. As you can see, the planting's just gone nuts. So that will be a job in the coming months, cutting all that back. But for now, that's where we are. So I'll leave this little bit of waffle here, and next clip should be me with my head in my hands with dismantled tanks. Hey up, so here we are, same day. You can see the amount of crap in there. I put the submersible in the bottom drain and the amount it's dragged up. Yeah, it's amazing really, but it's sort of what I knew. And when you bear in mind this, I made a mistake when I set it all up. I didn't put a separate purge line on, so I used to purge through the Nexus. But obviously purging from that to the height of the Nexus just isn't sufficient really, and that just bears that out because this is done twice a week at least, and the amount of crap that's still in there, so it sort of enforces the theory of what's been going wrong as far as the waste in the water from my point of view. So this is where we are. We're emptying that one. I've moved the plant tank. I'm just refilling that now. That shouldn't take too much longer. And that's about it. There's not a lot else to show you at the minute. This is just boring. This is going to drain down. I'm going to get the jet wash out, put the hose on, and just start jet washing the sides before it all dries on. So here we are into the chaos. It's not going too bad at the minute, to be honest, but I thought I'd get out and film a little bit because I haven't filmed anything since I stripped it all down. So basically what I've got done, I've got this set of returns done. This is going to be an overflow, not an overflow, sorry, an auto top-up tank. I'm going to put a ball valve in there. It's going to be fed from this. What else is there? Got one bottom drain in, just got the other two to do, just positioning the waste. And yeah, I'm recycling a lot of the 2-inch pipe and the 2-inch valves that I've already got. So for example, this, let me see if you can, this length of 2-inch here was the cut-off from each of these, and then it was buried underground and it ran over to the Nexus. So what I've done, obviously I've cut that out, taken it out of the ground, and I'm going to use that as a return. As that is there, they're not going to be quite as long. You can see the length of that. I'm just going to cut them down so it's just sort of water surface, and that's going to be a return, a second return. That's going to have the UV on it. This return here, as you can see, it's got it teed off at the bottom here. That's going to be coming from the air source heat pump. We started, again, you see we're using a lot of offcuts and a lot of holes. So I've just got to cut this pipe down to put the pumps on now. I'm just taping the pumps up, putting the unions on. These are 6-4 reducers, and then a 4-2 reducing bush inside here. Pretty simple solution to get around the 6-inch. What we've got on this side very quickly. So obviously we're going to have 3 4-inch drains, and then the one waste is on push fit, so that will push out and then into there, and then I've got to work out the drain run. I'm not too bothered about, I am bothered, but I'm not overly concerned about aesthetics because it's at the back of the tanks, so I can have, once I get these drains in, put the valves in, I can just run the drain lines all the way up. I need to work out what I'm going to do with that one. I've got a boss fitting for the waste, so when this waste pipe comes up slightly, I'll probably just put a boss in and put it across to that. Yeah, that's about where we are. So not a massive amount of progress, if you like, but it is at a steady pace. I've built it in my head about 8 times already, so it's going fairly to plan. Heat pump here. It's a little bit further out than I wanted, but I didn't want it too close to where the pumps are going to be sitting. So that's where we're at. Absolute bomb site, stuff everywhere, tripping over my own feet. I'm not the tidiest of work persons, I tell you. I'll just crack on and get it done, and then wonder why I'm aching and broken later on. So there we are. Absolute mess. Tank's all empty. I need to back them out now. They've all been jet washed. And there we are. So yeah, I've got to run the electrics and water lines in the trench. That's why I haven't filled it in. It's the water lines and electrics are going to come up to this point. I'm going to go into a shed here. Yeah, there we are. So I'll leave that there for now and see you in a short while. Right, so you're going to have to forgive me. I've just cracked on and I've got it finished. I put myself under a bit of a time constraint. With all the fish being held within those 2 tanks, I was obviously very conscious of that, and I didn't want them in there any longer than need be. So it was a case of get my head down, get everything done, and the filming sort of slipped by. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to run by everything now and just show you what we've done. You can see the fish is in there now. They've been in there. So the system's been running 4 days now. I've got this horrible makeshift cover on. But you can see them all in there. The water clarity is just about there now. It did go cloudy. I think it was a dead algae problem, because as soon as I put the UV on, it cleared that straight up. So everybody's happy now. So we've got all the fishes where they should be, and it's doing a much better job than the last system did. So this is what I came up with. Forgive me if I've repeated this, but this was a little, it's not even a filter house, it's just for the electrics. So basically there we go, we've got all the electrics in there. Air pump there. It's a complete mess, you're going to have to forgive it when we get round to the filters because there's crap everywhere. There's the two Vari pump controllers, and there's the drum controller. It's been averaging 66, between 66 and 70 cleans, and we have been feeding quite a bit as well. So I say quite a bit. I managed to seed the drum obviously because I've got lots of K+. In fact, let's jump in ahead. I'm currently cutting these covers down because the temperatures are dropping already, so I'm cutting these Perspex covers down, so we've got one cover on each. And this is what we're up with. So the air source heat pump, and this is the only return. So this one return goes to the pump, into the air source heat pump, all the way around, and that feeds the midway returns. So obviously all the heat, or the heated water, will go in midway. I am only going to heat, maintain rather than heat, to 11 degrees, just so if we have cause to treat, then we can, if that makes sense. The second return, this one on the Vari pump again, this one goes up through the UV, and then it comes, I mean it's a bit convoluted, but I used all the pipe work that I had from the previous system. So we've got all sorts, we've got like 245s here to make up a 90 because I ran out of 90s. All this lot, this was all buried under, so that was the bottom part of these returns in the original setup, if that makes sense. So I've just used it as 3 direct returns on the top, but it's only very slow flowing. We get a nice dwell time in the UV, and it goes back through the top, but we're still managing to cycle 1500 gallons. 1500 gallons. We managed to cycle that every 20 minutes between the two pumps. It's given a really good draw through the bottom drains. So yeah, that's where we are. So we've got more rubber boots than the British Army at the minute, but they're working really well, so I can't complain. So obviously we've got the valves coming out into a boot, and then we're into waste. So everything originally was pressure because it was underground, the majority of. None of this is going underground, so I didn't need to use pressure necessarily, so I used waste. Like I said, it looks a bit of a mess. It's all going to get boxed in. I had limited expectations on the aesthetics. It was function over form. So we'll quickly have a quick nose inside the drum. This is a new cable for the air source heat pump. Oh, it's just gone into a clean. I'll let it finish that. And yeah, you have to excuse it because there's still stuff everywhere. There we go. So yeah, you can still see it's absolutely spotless in here. I used probably about 80 litres of the K+ that I'd already got in the Nexus. I did use a bag of the Helix 13 as well, this stuff. That's what you get with the Oase drums. I use a bag of that because why not? And you can see already, like 3 or 4 days, and that's starting to change colour already. But yeah, I mean it is heavily seeded, so yeah, so there we go, spotless in there, which is what we're after. So far I'm very impressed. What's not so impressive is the pipe work. Check all that out, Jesus. So the waste, obviously straight down to waste, and it goes all the way back to the house. And again, it's not the best run in the world, but it is working, so I'm quite pleased about that. I thought I had a leak then, but it's just where I've taken the lid off. And we've got each individual bottom drain coming through into each of the inlets, and then this out here, just by a 40mm push fit that hasn't been plumbed into there yet, but I think I did mention on one of the videos, I've just got a boss that I'm going to put on there, and that'll go straight into there. So again, straight to waste. Similar with the pipe work, Obviously I couldn't run this along here with a 19 straight up, would have looked a lot neater, but I've got this one coming in, so you know, we had to go direct in there. But again, from a restriction of flow point of view, it's straight out the bottom drain into 145 and then up to the 19 in, so it's probably better in that regard. I was very fortunate, it sort of worked first time. I plumbed everything in, tightened all the boots, and you know, there was little in the way of leaks. The only problem I have had is with my this is my auto top up. Got the push fit done, all lovely job. I didn't put any PFTE tape on here, which I should have done, so that leaks, and I just can't get this one to seal at all, so I'm going to redo that. I have got another one of these, but as a concept it worked perfectly. I've just turned the water off. I mean, you can see it's still dripping onto this here, a very makeshift table if you like, but that's how the system works. So that obviously sits at the same water level as the tanks. As soon as it drops below, then that just tops itself up. Like I said, 65 to 70 cycles a day, so that at least in litres every day, which is good. I'm quite happy with that. It helps with the water changing. So that is about where we're at. I know it looks an absolute mess. So we've got a waterproof box here that has got, rather than run, because you only get a really short lead on these UVs, and rather than run it direct into the back of the shed like I did with the rest, I've got it in the waterproof box. I've got it on a timer, so the UV will only run from 8 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon. There's no need for it to be running through the night, and that's just a simple £3 B&Q plug-in timer. So yeah, I think that's about where we are. I do have now a lot of tidying up. What I am going to do, I'm probably going to come across from this top beam, and like a stud wall if you like, and just box in a little bit, not too heavy, just a tiny bit of insulation. Like I said, heating wise, we're just going to keep this at 11 degrees, which will hold the tanks then at 10. So we have a quick look down. I fed them this morning. So yeah, it's about that time now. Temperatures are dropping. I'm going to have to get in and sort all this lot out now. Cut everything back, but the bog is still, I mean, those gunner reliefs are flying. Everything in the bog is just exploded. All this grass now is starting to go, so it does need to come out now. But they're all happy, they're expecting food. I ain't got any with me, it's in the shed, so I'm going to have to get it. A lot of cutting back. I will try and do a video when I do that, and we just see the difference. So that is where we are at. We've just opened up, so these two, well, there's the plants as well. I don't know if I've shown you this before. A simple plant tank. It's got a 10 watt pump in there. There's some goldfish in here, and that 10 watt pump just circulates. I've got some air stones in, but I ain't connecting them up to the air yet. Yeah, and it keeps the plants in shallows and it keeps them happy. That's those. These two are now empty. The pump is just ticking over. It's quite a decent flow rate through that shower, but like I said, there's nothing in here yet. So it's a case of draining these down now, jet washing them out and fitting the drum. Nexus is there. So this Nexus and this bead will be up for sale. I used a lot of the pipe work. That's now completely disconnected, and all I did was just cut away and put a boot on, and that worked really well. Small drip from there, but yeah, all that, and yeah, it didn't perform as I wanted it to. There we've got the there we've got the drum to go on. It is the compact M rather than the L. I think that's about it. So that's where we are. Apologies I didn't film much of the process, however I'm sure there's not many that really want to see that anyway. The end result and how it works is all explained there. So thanks very much for tuning in. Keep an eye on for future videos. I will try my best, especially mind you, we're coming into the winter months now, so we'll see how we get on, and we'll see you all again soon. Cheers.